Welcome to an inside job. My name's Ron. I'm your host. Chanelle has she came in, is it 2 weeks ago, and told your story, and things have changed, and I really appreciate her coming in today. This is, I believe, going to be a very powerful show. So I want to thank LATV, like I just said, Kyle, Jack, Jane, Robert, Alan, and now Bradley, who I just met. They really back us up. They're so good about this thing, and they believe in it, and they know something has to be done. Chanelle will explain one part of that. So it's a half-hour show, but it may go a little more. It's live, which means there's no editing. This is it. This is it. So bear with us. Bear with me, anyway. The show is geared toward the epidemic that we are facing with addiction. And this is a quote from, and I say it every week, so be used to it now. But it's just so important to me to try to understand this thing. And it's a quote from a guy that really understands this thing. His name is Dr. Gabor Mate. He's an MD who works with addicts in Vancouver, Canada, downtown, east side. Hardcore. They're hardcore. I don't know. I didn't give the name of it. Oh, yeah. Title of the book, In the Realm of the Hungry Ghost. And he explains addiction as biological, chemical, neurological, physiological, medical, emotional, social, political, environmental, economical, and spiritual. It's that, excuse me, it's that complicated. It's and delicate and so many other things. And we're doing this show so maybe some people can understand just how difficult it is getting clean, getting sober, facing life, and just so much more, you know. Okay. Okay. So anyway, Chanelle has come back. She was the last show. And this thing is on YouTube now, which I'm very happy about. www.youtube.com, and then go in a search in Lemonster TV and just scroll down. So if you didn't happen to see last week's show, maybe you can, because it's going to be very important to see just what an addict has to go through. Anyway, okay. I usually have questions, and it came about today that the person that was going to come in didn't. It takes a lot to come on the show and spill your guts. As far as me, I'll tell everything. I have no secrets in this thing. I just want to help. So again, Chanelle, thanks for coming in. All right. So last week, is it 2 weeks or 1 week?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Last time we came in and the show was great. And we talked, of course, about your sobriety. And you had a year and how much?
A year and 4 months.
A year and 4 months. And you were feeling good, pretty good about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what has happened since then?
I've relapsed since
You
then.
just have to speak up. a
I've
little.
relapsed since then.
Yeah. With a year and 4 months, it came about. And just to let people know, what did come about? What was that change that? And I know part of it was you were trying to kick the methadone, and you were struggling, and you were sick, and you told me that when we were coming 2 weeks ago. What made that happen? That you picked up a drink and a drug?
Well, I mean, the methadone part was definitely a huge part of that. But I guess mostly just like life on life's terms and not enough help out there. I was sick, and then just life events started to happen. I stopped getting away from the meetings. I stopped talking to people. I stopped doing my step work. I stopped calling my sponsor. I stopped doing all the necessities to stay clean and sober. And then I got complacent. I could have one drink, I'm okay. And this happened to me the last time too, but I didn't realize what was going on until it was too late.
Did you know when you were doing it, when you're putting the drink in your mouth, that here I go again, or that you could get away with it?
Oh, you know, they say in the halls like a belly full of booze and head full of AA. And
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. I mean, the guilt kicked in, so by that time it was, well, forget it. I've already relapsed. Why not go above and beyond? And asking for help was the biggest part. Admitting the relapse was the biggest part.
Let me just go back a little. You were in a halfway house,
Yep, sober living.
right? Sober living. You were doing well, doing your chores. You just told me doing your chores, paying your rent. You had a good job. Maybe not a whole bunch of money, but you were making it. You were making it, and you were coming to AA. And so you picked up a drink outside? Not in the house.
No, not in the house.
Yeah, just one?
For that hour, I mean.
Yeah, yeah. And within how much time were you getting some dope?
By the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah. So you just throw your key in, again in the 12-step program. You just threw your keys on the table. No more place to live.
Right.
No more job.
No more job, no more trust, no more fellowship, no more. I lost
Right.
it all in 24 hours.
In 24 hours.
24 hours.
See, I'm fortunate maybe because I've been around so long. I know that if I pick up that one drink, the guilt's going to come, just as you just said, and I'll be throwing everything right on the table.
Yep.
I'm assured of that, and it would take me to a very bad place in a short amount of time, and there was. Before I got sober, there was attempts on my life, and I can do it. It didn't work the way it did. Anyway, I'm getting off point. So you got kicked out of there. Now what?
Exactly what you just said. Now what?
Right.
And that's what it really goes to, is for the addict, now what? You can give yourself the excuse to keep on going, or you can ask for the help. And over the last couple days, like, I've had a couple friends pass away, and from ODs alone. And I think that's what kind of woke me up the most. So I did go back, and I did get another 24-hour, and I did tell people I relapsed. And like that shame, that initial shame of, or shock from everybody else, I guess. And it just, I gave myself the excuse. I got my 24-hour, and then I gave myself the excuse. And
What do you mean you got your 24-hour?
I got my 24-hour coin again.
Yeah.
And
that's at a 12-step program.
12-step program.
When you come in or when you have some time giving out coins. So you got up and you basically told everybody, because you're getting the chip, I screwed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it takes guts. Takes guts.
I actually had a co-sponsor who she's like a secondary sponsor to me, and she ended up bringing me to the hospital to go ask for help and this and that. And
Okay, so you were using, how much had you used by that point?
I was kind of mixing everything at that point.
Oh, really? So it was the next day that your friend took you up to the hospital?
She recommended that I try to get into a detox, and they would get me into a program, and
Okay.
that doesn't really work like that.
Okay. We're going to blow the whistle a little here, and I think it's important. And I'm sorry to some of the organizations maybe, but this is what an addict has to go through. And it's so complicated. Okay, so your friend took you up the hospital.
The hospitals actually, they kind of consider it a Section 12, where for a mental thing, they'll hold you. But at that point,
Just explain that, Section 12, and I think
Section 12 is it's a 72-hour like psych hold, basically.
Okay.
But when you're trying to get in for detox, they still treat you like you're in a psych hold. And there was no help. There was no, I mean, I was texting my friend, and what do I do? They're going to send me home. And she said, well, unfortunately, you're going to have to play the suicidal card. Tell them you're suicidal. They can't send you home. And it didn't work. They still sent me home.
Really?
Still sent me home, yeah. There is no help. There is no help. Well, there is, but there's not enough help. And that's...
I just want to say that I know Chanelle, and I trust her. I trust what she's saying is the truth. And that's what we're letting the public know, how difficult this thing is. So they held you for 72 hours?
2 days. And I mean, I even threw a temper tantrum. 28 years old throwing a temper tantrum in order for them to be like, oh, maybe she does. Even if it was a psych hold, that's still 3 days to a week where I can't harm myself with that drink or that drug, that I might be able to get my head on straight.
How about getting sick?
I was sick. I was still sick from the methadone.
You didn't they didn't give you anything? No. They don't.
No,
It's all
they don't.
changed, right?
Very much so.
Yeah. So you're struggling, kicking dope, and you're up the hospital, 22 psych. How many people come and talk to you?
There was 2 people. 2 people. But I wasn't the only patient there. I was also sharing a room with another girl, and she was there a total of 3 days. And then there was people in the hallway. There was people in different rooms for the
dope.
same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And say the last part I interrupted.
Oh, but there was people in the hallways there for the same thing. I mean, they have beds in the hallways because there's just not enough. There's not enough beds.
Not enough beds.
And when you're looking for a detox or any type of substance abuse treatment, they'll give you a list and tell you, call these places.
Right. They'll give you the list.
Right.
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 So you're sick from the dope. Every bone in your body hurts. Yes, it was your choice, okay? And there'd be some people, and I know.
It absolutely was my choice. And
Right.
after a year and 4 months, I had the recovery time
Right.
to say, what else can I do?
Right.
But when the addict is already there, you mentally relapse before you relapse.
Right.
And when you're already there and your mind is already set, there is no talking you down.
Right.
The first one was a choice, absolutely.
Right.
I'm not debating them, I'm not saying that that's not true. I made the conscious decision to seek out the dealer, to seek out the drug, to seek
Right.
out the drink, and that's what I did. After that, it feels like you have no control after that.
Right. Of course.
I thought I did, but I didn't.
I'll tell you, if I ever went out, I've been sober half my life, and if I ever went out, and I know this, you'd never see me again.
Nope.
Not a whole bunch, and maybe nobody would ever see me again. There'd be that.
That's the reality of it.
That is the reality. So you're up there 2 days, right?
About 2 days, yeah.
And did they give you a list and say, call places to get in?
That's what they normally do. They did have someone from a different agency come and talk, and at which point they decided I didn't qualify. We set up a safety plan, and I was on my merry way. And that same day, I got high.
All right. You got to explain that just so I can understand. You're up there 2 days. How many people came and talked to you? And
Two.
what was their job?
2.
Two. And what were they? What
To
was
see
their
if I
position?
qualify for a bed.
Not a shrink, not a social worker.
They're kind of like a social worker.
Who?
The people who come and do the
Okay.
intake, yeah, but they're not really a social worker. You know, they just kind of score you and see where you're at.
Are they any type of professional? Are they nurses? Are they?
I would assume that they're some type of professional. I mean, they do come in and they work with CHL or different agencies
okay.
like that, yeah.
So did they give you a list? Or?
They did give me a list.
Yeah. So call these numbers. And in the meantime, you're going home, no place to live, you're sick as a dog, and what happens next?
I used.
Right. Well, of course. Your Honor, you did it.
No.
You already did it. Everything's turned, your whole life is just
Upside
turned
down,
around
yeah.
to nothing, to the black hole. And so you used, but explain, maybe after that, how many places did you try to get in? How did you try to get more help? You didn't have any place to live.
No. So my sponsor actually stepped up and she's letting me stay there with her, which is actually like crucial to my recovery at this point.
Yeah? Two sober people.
2 sober people,
Yeah.
yeah. And, you know, I tried calling the detoxes they gave, and when the weather's cold, detoxes are full. They don't have enough beds. They don't
Okay.
have enough places.
Okay.
You know,
Wonder why that is. You know, why is that there is not a bed to try to save your life?
well, because we're building more banks than we are anything else. We're building
Yeah.
more unnecessary things and then complaining about the epidemic.
Right.
And that's what it boils down to.
I believe that the system is broken.
Very
It's
much.
broken.
Very much.
People are dying. I said it another time, but I have to say it again. This is, where is it? Is it over here? This is, it's called a CIB. And what it is the Combat Infantry Badge, all right? I was at war. I was in Vietnam. And I understand what it did to me. And I have so much, I don't even have the words for what I feel about these guys coming home, and women, after 2 tours and 3 tours. I just know, it's been 50 years for me. And I'm still, you know, I'm on 4 medications, and you just wouldn't want to see me without medication. And that's been a little while now, and that's rough. But my point being, in the last few days with the 4 guys getting killed, it's been, no disrespect, okay, but it's been over and over and over. Why can't it be, yes, it happened. What can we do about these people that are dying? You know, I use the VA, no complaints. They've been very good to me, and they helped me through this thing, and they helped me through my life. A million groups, a million, you know, and the medication, everything else. But like I said, what are we gonna do about what you're going through without a bed? That's what I want people to understand. That's why I think this show is just so partisan. So you're trying to get into detox to help you with this sickness. Go
We
ahead.
spoke about that a couple weeks ago. They send us into detoxes. I didn't get into a detox, but they send us into a detox. We do 5 to 7 days at most, and then they
Right.
send us back out.
Right.
Granted, there are ILPs. There's, you know,
I don't know what that is.
it's like a day treatment almost.
Okay.
where they run groups and services and stuff, but that's not going to stop somebody.
No?
Sometimes you need inpatient. If I had the choice to do it again, I would have went into a detox and then went into
Right.
actual residential care because I
Right.
have to be taken out of the situation. But it's, I know I had brought it up today, and I had read there was 6 overdoses in 8 hours in Massachusetts. That's 6
We
overdoses
don't know if they're
that
fatal or not.
I'm not sure, but that's 6 that didn't have to happen.
Right. And then your friend.
Yeah.
Our friend, I knew
Yeah.
him. And then
Yep.
Kat's friend, I don't know who that was, but another one. This is 3 days ago.
3 days. And, it's not the amount you do, it's when your respiratory shuts down. And I think that's what people don't understand. Like, we think it's not going to happen to me. I'm not that person. I know
Right.
how much I can handle.
Right.
It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that.
There's
So
the
many people are dying, and it's like more people are going to have to die before it's recognized.
But will it be recognized?
Exactly.
I don't believe, and there's some good programs out there. One in particular, in my opinion, Spectrum down in Westboro, big organization, but they are changing their program, and they just built a new building, and it's dedicated to a great guy,
Yeah.
Chuck Farris.
The Farris
All right,
Center.
but
Yep.
their new approach to this is to just concentrate on sobriety. I don't know the length of stay. It used to be like 9 months. That's what. That's one thing of this. This world of it's just so huge with the people dying.
It's a problem.
And back to my point, there's some good programs, some long term, but that's even getting closer. I know. I don't think you can stay even, and I don't know, but I know they had to cut down the amount of
Funding.
of the stay. But, does the drug czar know? And he, right now there is no drug czar. But does the drug czar know what to do? I am certain that it wouldn't be someone that has gone through this. Yes, it may be that someone, or you're going through this with your son. But this show is the inside job. What you're doing right now is from the inside. People don't understand. And they can't understand, and there's just so many parts to this.
It's 10 times harder to do it. When you go into a detox, it's a little easier. I didn't have that chance to go to the detox. By the time a bed opened, I'm past being sick, so why waste a bed when someone else could potentially use it? But to go right back to the same thing, I mean...
How did you stop? I mean, after you came home from the thing, you picked up, but how did you stop? So many just keep going. Some die, some
The
don't
grace
come
of a
back.
higher power, and that's really, I mean, you follow the rules of, well, not rules, but you follow the suggestions of the 12-step program. For
So
me.
you remembered some of that stuff.
Right. Oh,
of
yeah.
what
The
you had to
knowledge
do.
from that year was still there. It's just whether or not I was willing to use it. And when you're so caught up in that moment, the addict isn't willing to. They don't care. And that's really what it was. By the time I had mentally relapsed before I had physically picked up. And sometimes you recognize those signs, and sometimes you don't. And I knew enough to go back. I knew enough to say, I messed up. I used. I need help. And when you talk to the right people in the 12-step program, you will have people surround you and help you and reach
Right.
out. And, and that's really what it boiled down to. I had went back and told them, like, I messed up again. I need help, and I don't know what to do. Well, my sponsor said, well, you have a place to stay now. Now you can come stay here, but what are you willing to do?
Right.
And that's what the only person that's going to be able to keep you sober is yourself, in the grand
Right.
scheme of things.
Right.
I had to get back to meetings. I'm doing a meeting to 2 to 3 a day because that's what I know to do.
Right.
I am doing the writing again. I am doing the reading again. I'm doing all the things that I know to do, but it's a matter of the want to do it. And I mean, it's easier said than done. And the difference between the detox and actually doing it on your own is, on your own's a dangerous place to go. Right now, like, I don't listen to myself. Like, if my sponsor says we're doing this, this is what I'm doing, because my way gets me in a different situation. And but I mean, the topic of the lack of help, and I keep hearing so many people say, like, you know, still the debate of disease and choice. There's still the debate of why help them if they're going to die anyways. Well, people are going to die. It's the natural order of life. But if you can prevent the death at such a young age, people are dying younger than their 20s, 18, 19. Some are teenagers. Some are older. Like, it does not discriminate. And that's what I think a lot of it needs to realize. Or the other side of the, well, why can't you just stop? And we talked about that before too. And it's easier for an alcoholic or an addict to talk to another alcoholic or an addict.
Most definitely.
And when I talk to one, they get it. But if I talk to somebody not in recovery, it sounds like gibberish.
Right.
So it's, and especially in that field. Now, if you're asking for help, make sure you have people who have some experience.
Right.
And that's a lot of the problem too. I mean, it's just, I get the lack of funding. We talked about that the last time. But if you have funding to build all these new things that are unnecessary and we don't need, why not make the funding for a shelter for addicts or counseling for addicts? Just the counseling alone could help somebody. You never know. You never know. And it's the measures that are we going to be willing to take, or how many more have to die first?
Right. But does anybody know what to do about this thing? You know, is there a plan? No.
No,
Politically, it's not working.
No.
We're not on board. Like I said, CNN, MSNBC, and I'm a news junkie, but over and over and over the same thing, over and over. Can't we do some type of I know there's documentaries out there, but just put that to focus for a while. Half a focus, a half an hour where people might come in and talk from the inside. You know, let me ask this. If your sponsor wasn't there to take you in her house, what would have happened?
I don't know.
Think you would have picked up?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In all honesty, yeah, I would have gave myself that excuse. But again, lack of places for the addict to go. Now, where I was living, like, I knew better. I knew the rules were very clear. Don't use.
You said
Sober house.
Sober house.
Right. You know, they didn't ask much. They asked that you paid your rent on time, you did your chore, and you stayed clean.
Right.
And I failed to do that. It's not their fault. They didn't give me the alcohol. They didn't give me the drug. That's not their fault. I can't blame them on that. But there's the lack of places to go after the fact. And it doesn't matter.
After the halfway house? Or
Well,
after
no,
detox?
just after somebody picks up.
Yeah.
You know, there's people with 20 plus years that go back out, and it's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do. And that's, I mean, for some addicts, it's a daily struggle. And they have 15, 10, 12, doesn't matter how long they have. You're in a constant war with certain things. It gets easier. Absolutely, it gets easier.
Excuse me, you said at this point, and it's a week and a day, right?
I have over a week sober now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're just getting over that horrible sickness where you can't eat, and it's like the flu, your bones times whatever.
Yeah. And normally it wouldn't be like that for the amount of time I've used, but when you're on methadone and then you stop methadone, it could take a week, it could take 2 weeks, it could take 2 months to start feeling normal. So when you use and you give your body a little taste, now you're set back 10 steps. And the sickness wasn't even the worst part. I think it was emotionally and mentally, like, that was the worst part. Because you're flooded with every feeling all at once. And then when you have actual real life things happen, you're flooded that much more. So if my sponsor wasn't the recovering person she is today, if she wasn't able to reach her hand out, and I mean, she has great recovery, she really does. And I don't know and can't say, I mean, I had other places to go, but nowhere where sober people are. And at that point, you make the choice. What do I want to do? It's hard to explain. It's hard to explain. But had she not been there, I don't know. I can't say for sure. I want to stay sober, and that is my main goal. But anybody in recovery, that's their main goal. But when you put your sobriety on the back burner and you start putting other people first or other things first, you lose sight of your sobriety. A part of my problem is complacency. I get very complacent. I've been to 3 meetings. I don't need another meeting this week.
Life takes over.
Life takes over. And you have to find that balance too. You have to find life in recovery and life outside of recovery. But how do you have a life if you're not in recovery as the addict? And you read it in the beginning, and it is a complicated thing. It is. It's very complicated. It affects you emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically. And you know, I struggled with the spirituality thing for a while, and once one thing falls, the rest falls. It's just like a domino effect. Like, you can't have the recovery and not have the mental stability or the physical stability or the emotional stability. And I think that's a lot of the problem too. They think if we just throw them in a 12-step program, if you get arrested for a DUI, they throw you in an AA meeting, basically, where you can go and forge a signature on the paper and leave and not hear anything.
So you're seeing it. You're ordered from probation, and that's a whole bunch of money going through that.
Right.
And they say, go to some AA meetings. Here's a slip. Get it signed.
Yep.
I mean, who are you getting it? You sign it yourself, or
You could.
whatever. If you don't want to get sober, or this is an important thought of mine. Maybe a lot of people. All right, I know a lot of people outside the program, but trying to get this stuff stuffed down your throat. What's an addict gonna do? I'm just talking about addicts. You reject it.
Right.
You reject
absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You are so fortunate, and it's because of the 12-step program and what they preach. First of all, to be sitting here right now, but second, you were able to end up with your sponsor's place. Yes, it is uncomfortable, but you're staying clean right now.
Absolutely.
And that's, you know, I'm all for the 12-step program.
Not so much
It's
uncomfortable.
been my life. You know, is it crazy? Is there crazy people in? Yes. Are there saints in?
Course.
And that comes with the whole bag. But no matter what you're going through, and you can be crying and angry and everything else, but you're still sober.
Right.
That's the thing. And tomorrow's going to be different.
I think a lot of the opinion too that's actually really tied up is, like, I've heard many people say, well, they're just an addict, they're going to die anyways, they don't want it. Sometimes the addict does want it, but doesn't know how to go about it. And like I said, I was very fortunate. I was lucky that I had women in recovery to extend their hand and to help me. But they can only help me so much. I have to actually want it and put the footwork in to get it. Like we just said, I have a little over a week. But that little over a week was hard to get when you're sitting there and obsessing, and you don't think you're going to make it till the next day, but you do. And then the next
the guilt,
day. Oh,
and
God.
the shame,
oh, yeah.
and you're sick, and you know, addiction. And I said it one time before, for people who don't understand addiction, just try this, whatever it is. Don't do it for a week. Your coffee, your cigarettes, that'd be a tough one.
Yeah.
Your cupcake at night, whatever. Just don't do it for a week. And then times that by 100, and that's what the addict's going through.
Right.
Their choice, and I heard it just like you said. It's their choice. Let them rot until it's part of their life. And I know a
It affects
parent, a
everybody.
uncle, right? It does.
It affects
and
everybody.
then there's the focus.
Oh, yeah.
We as a society do not have the focus to attack. Also the show is War on Addiction. We have to go to war on this thing, and not the drug war, because that's about 45 years now, and that didn't work. And money and money and money. See, I believe people have to understand. The people that are out there saying, that don't have the focus, or that are saying that's their choice, let them suffer in jail, let them suffer. But what they don't understand, and it wasn't here, economical. And I might have said it last week, and that's all right, I'm going to say again. One OD, whether fatal or not, before everything's done, and I'm not going to include court and probation and all that. 8 to 10 grand one time. What is it costing you out there, that person? Do you know what it's costing you? Mm-hmm. If we could just begin to understand that, first of all, you aren't nothing, because when you're out there, that's how you're treated. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
Like you're nothing. You're nothing. You're an addict. It's gotten better through the years. I have to say it's more accepted. But you still, when you walk in that door at the hospital, how are you looked at?
Like an addict. Like an
Right,
addict. And I get the whole, everybody has the right to their opinion, and I understand that. And I was that person that it's their choice and they can rot, and that's fine, until I got on the other side. Was it my choice? Yes, it was. It was my choice to use just as much as it was my choice to get clean. But at what point do you want to be clean? And that's really what it goes back and forth through. And a lot of people don't understand, some of the addicts really do want it. They really do want the help. They really do want to stay sober. They want to do anything they can and go to any lengths for their sobriety. But then you have the people of, we shouldn't spend our money on Narcan because they're going to die anyways. That's it's such a it's a controversy. It's a hard thing. It's a controversy thing, and a lot of people are. Again, I used to be on that side. It's not a disease. They're fine.
That was the interesting part.
Right. And sometimes I still go back to that because
really?
I just had
With
the
you being
conversation
an
with my sponsor, and I kind of debated her on it and told her, well, diabetes is a disease, cancer just is a disease, addiction's my choice.
Right.
And to an extent, I'm right, and to an extent, I'm wrong. I did not blow out my birthday candles as a child and say, I hope I can be an addict one day. That was not my hopes and dreams. I had actual goals in life. I wanted to do paralegal stuff. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. Do I have the choice to do or the option to do those things? Absolutely, if I stay sober. At what point in my life did it stop becoming fun and became an actual full-time job?
Right.
And that's where, we get disease and choice so confused. And I've heard it said in the 12-step meetings very often, the first one's a choice and the rest are mandatory. And I would debate that, no, the rest, they're all choices. I can stop anytime I want to until I couldn't. And I finally understood. Some people are going to say it's a disease. Some people are going to say it's a choice. Whatever it is, it's killing people. So disease, choice, it's killing people.
Yeah.
It's killed more people than cancer this year. And that's the bottom line. And
how much money are we spending on that in the schools and studying this? And of course we want to do that. But what about this? And it is, see, in his book, in Dr. Matei's book, he has come to just one of the conclusions, that it is your environment, what you grew up in. You know, I don't want,
Well-
I won't ask anything for you to talk about how it was growing up, but my guess is that it was rough.
At times, absolutely. And I've actually, when I was living out of Leominster and I was living in Pittsfield, there was this girl, and she shared her story, and she said she had a great childhood. They grew up great, like if she had a rich upbringing, life was good. She had a toothache, and that's how her opiate addiction started. And
Another angle to
right,
this thing.
and what I'm starting to realize is it doesn't matter your upbringing. It doesn't matter what's happened in your life or what hasn't happened in your life. When the doctor, it's changed now. Now it's a little harder to get a script, but at some point, you have a toothache, here's Percocet.
Yep. It is changing.
Yeah. You have a headache, here's Percocet. And the more opiates they prescribed, they're not willing to help people get off of them. So when you're prescribing 2 weeks worth of prescriptions and then you're saying, we're done,
nothing.
what's the next best thing? It's cheaper for a bag of heroin,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's longer lasting, so of course they're gonna go to it. But now the epidemic's created, and now problems are created, and instead of facing them, we're spending money on useless things as a city, which is, I get it, but
A country.
country in general,
Right.
yeah.
I'll ask you this, and I already know the answer. If an addict wants to get high, what's going to happen?
That addict is going to get high.
I knew.
You know,
There's
and that's
nothing that you could.
right. And well, there's a difference. There's a difference because I've went into 12-step meetings and said, like, I want to get high, and just saying it and actually hearing myself out loud with some recovery time, that's a little stupid. I don't want to get high anymore. But when the addict's mind is set, when they have already mentally relapsed, there's no stopping them. There's no stopping them. I could have called anybody in the world. They could have talked me down, and I'm still going out because I can be on the moon. And if I want it, I'm going to get it. And that's the bottom line.
Yeah, and that's what I need now. I want to be on the moon. You know, I won't swear, but I don't want to do this anymore. And that's a year and
Right.
4 months.
Right.
And other times that you've been sober. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm bored. I'm sick of hearing the stuff at AA. I'm sick of you people trying to drill these rules down my throat. I'm an addict. I don't want to listen. And this is experience because I was associate administrator of a program with Veterans in Recovery, and that was 6 years, 15 recovering vets, some Vietnam, some, you know, it was mixed, but everybody in the house was an addict. So I understand, I said, you know, I'd say to one guy, can't you do your chore? You just have to mop this bathroom. Oh, it's tough. Addicts are tough.
Oh yeah, and put them all together, and it's that much more chaos.
Yeah.
You know, the addict,
Right.
their self has enough chaos going on, and you know they're very reliant. Well, the 12-step program is very reliant on the Serenity Prayer and the higher power stuff, and you know, in different situations, when you're trying to find that serenity, but you're in community living with addicts, it's going to go different ways.
Right, but so if you're weighing up the two, living with the addicts, but it's safe.
Right.
It's safe.
Right.
It might take you over the edge because, excuse me, the place up on the hill in Leominster, 12 women with their kids. And like I said, I have the experience of waking the addicts up and
And I've
tucking
been to
them in
a
at
program
night.
like that. I've been to a program
Right.
for moms and their
Right.
kids. And those women, I give a lot of credit because when you're dealing with, you know, someone in their personalities or 10 personalities or whatever they had
Right.
at that time, plus their kids and sobriety, it's hard. But if it wasn't for that program I went to, I wouldn't have gotten where I did before. I wouldn't have learned what I did before.
Right.
It was only in that program that I considered that I might have a problem. Because before I couldn't see it. I couldn't see the problem before.
time is it? No,
Overtime.
we're getting close.
Yep.
So this is it today. Today, this is what you're going through. You were so great for coming in admitting that happened. After a year and 4 months, that happened. And it happens all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
All
And
the time.
people think, some people, Jesus, you're sober 3 months and you're still going to the meetings, or I believe it has to be, part of this thing has to be long-term, what would it be called? Long-term programs, and I do believe that a lot of this, the problems that we have, are because of the environment. That's just my opinion.
Right.
And if you're growing up and you've been abandoned, you're both parents working, they got their thing, everybody's on the phone, abuse. For me, I was running. Quitting high school and blah, 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 blah. I was running, and when I picked up that first drink, it was like, and I thought about it the other day because I'm such a comic. The skies opened up, and God looked down and said, "This bud's for you." Isn't that funny? No. It's.
Well, I've also learned it's not, yes, I relapsed. Yes, I
Yes.
had some time, but what am I going to do about it now? And that's what I have to
And
look
I need
at.
help.
Right.
I need help.
Right.
I should be in a place for a year or 2. I'll say this program that I was the administrator of, we were fortunate, and it was by the vets. It's a place in Massachusetts, and the veterans, that's where they get their funding. But we're able to they could stay as long as they wanted, and back then, it was called Unity House, all right? Till you want to leave, okay? But we also were able to get some money we redid a place, and we redid it nice. 12 efficiency apartments, all right? So from there to still all addicts in this house, the apartments, all addicts. And some of them died there. Some of them left, some of it died there, but they kept sober, and the other people watched you. And I know I was running it, and I'd hear it. But those are the kind of programs that we need.
Absolutely.
There's one up in Fitzwilliam, New Hampshire, run by a good friend of mine also, or at least in part, they get their funding from the VA. And it's a farm, all right? And it's kind of out there. But it has the garden, it has the animals, it's back in nature, and then because you got to change your life completely
Absolutely.
around. Get rid of, you
People,
can't go
places, and
back to your
things.
friends.
No, no.
And to be in a group that hopefully want to be sober and go from there. But it's, like I said 2 weeks ago, we went a long way into the woods with our using, with our addiction, and it's a long way out. It's not immediate. It's not 7 days in a detox.
No.
And we're letting people die.
They
We're
need the
letting
help.
them die.
Right.
I was on a rant today, and I really appreciate you coming in, I'll tell you. And I hope
you.
to see you again,
Thank
because the insights are just so great. So that's it. We're going to wrap it up. We went over, of course, and but it was a powerful show, and I knew it was going to be a powerful show. So thank you, dear.
Thank you.
So that's it. That's a wrap.